Today I'm going to tell you the best Rolex watches you should buy in 2025. It ain't the new ones. Let's get into it. Yes, and welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. Today, a fantastic episode in a long line I like to call Buying at BQ. They are the #1 place you go if you're buying or selling pre-owned luxury watches. Their service is second to none. Don't just trust me. Their Trustpilot score is 5 out of 5. They offer a 2-year warranty with any watch purchase and a 14-day money-back guarantee. I've been to the brick and mortar store many times, and over the months I brought back with me watches I think you guys would love to see. I've been very fortunate enough to have handled a lot of very iconic watches. It's helped me make a good balanced assessment with each watch review I do. Now, there's no denying I am a fan of Rolex. That's not what I heard. No, well, okay, all right. I mean old Rolex. My absolute favorite era of this brand is between the late 80s and the late 90s. In this window of Rolex watchmaking were some incredible releases. Way ahead of their time in terms of materials they were starting to use. But in 2025, you can find some absolute bangers that are way under the 10,000 mark. I recently traded in my 214270 39mm Explorer for the 36mm 14270, which was made in 1999. This reference was huge for the Explorer as it superseded the 1016 that had a movement with a low beat rate, matte printed dial, acrylic crystal. It was this reference that completely transformed the look of the Explorer to what we know today. Between the late 80s and 90s, that's when Rolex started making watches that weren't going to age anymore. Now, today's watch made me fall in love with this reference altogether because the current one just looks too big for me and no longer versatile. And we are talking about the Explorer 2 line. The first one came out in 1971. Oh, blimey, look at this. I mean, this was pretty strange for Rolex, okay? Back in those days, they had a winner with the Submariner, a winner with the Explorer, a winner with the GMT Master. All those had a dive-style dial to them with a Mercedes handset. This thing, believe it or not, Rolex made this watch for people that liked spelunking. Sounds like something you do round the back of the bins at Tesco's. Basically, it's for cave people. You know, those millions and millions of people that like going into dark caves and climbing. About 3. But the idea with its tritium loom and fixed 24-hour bezel meant that these climbers could work out whether it was morning or afternoon or even evening because they didn't have too much sunlight. Again, about 3 people in the world. Anyway, I'm not judging, you know. Rolex came out with a cool looking reference because it looked nothing like the Submariner, Explorer and GMT Master. It didn't do very well. So in order to make a failing reference popular, they brought out the 16550. Now we've got a dial that looks like a Submariner. It's a lot more cleaner and does look like it relates to Rolex sports watches now. But the reference I've got to show you today is the beautiful 16570. Let me show you why I love it, give you my wife's opinion at the end, and let's get hold of some nice vintage Rolex. Are you Explorer 2 ready? Let's go. So, ladies and gentlemen, here is the absolutely beautiful 16570. Came out in 1989, and this reference went on for 22 years. It wasn't until 2011 that the Explorer 2 had another change. But people, look how gorgeous this thing is. They simply broke the mold when they made this watch. From the dimensions, the feel of it in your hands, the thickness of it, everything about this watch is just awesome. This is not like an Explorer 2 as we know it today, as the first thing you notice on this dial, the GMT hand from the original has changed from orange to this long red stemmed arrow. In later iterations, Rolex went back to the orange arrow. This was the first Explorer 2 that was fitted with a sapphire glass, and the dial had a dramatic rethink. The case is absolutely perfection. This is good old-fashioned Rolex with the drilled lugs. You know, when Rolexes used to be tool watches, the Explorer 2 is the ultimate tool watch in my opinion. But what impresses me the most is when I have this up close and personal, just how perfect it is. There's enough chamfering, brushing and polishing for this watch to be dressy, sporty, wear it anywhere. Rolex calls this 40 millimeters in diameter. It's not, it's definitely smaller, closer to 39 in fact. We got a lug to lug of 46 millimeters and it's only 12.2 millimeters thick. Now, seeing as though we've got a movement inside here that has a traveler's GMT complication and it's automatic, Rolex were doing this 35 years ago. You can begin to understand when you look at the likes of the Tudor Black Bay GMT with its ridiculously sized case that looks like a slab of cheese. When you look at that and then look at this, you think to yourself, we've definitely gone backwards. This watch also has a beautifully strapaholic 20 millimeter lug width, which means you're going to be able to put this on any strap you desire. The Oyster bracelet is pretty identical to my 14270. We do have hollow end links and it is a pressed clasp, but for me, I love it. I really love it. We have got micro adjusts here coming up the wazoo. I think there are at least 4. And if you're like me, and you wear your watch a little bit loose all the time, you don't use on-the-fly adjustments. Okay, let's look at the face.
Dial time.
And just like the 14060 and my Explorer, we have a deep lacquered piano black dial with those very contrasting white gold framed indices that in 1999 were now luminova and not tritium. And the lume on this bad boy is still phenomenal. I absolutely love Rolex sports watches with just 2 lines below the hand stack. You don't need more than 2 lines. These days it's an essay, isn't it?
Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
Now, during the 22 years that this reference was running, there were 2 different movements. From 89 to about 2006, it housed the in-house caliber 3185. 4 Hertz movement, 50-hour power reserve, 31 jewels, Nivachrome hairspring. This thing would beat most movements that do the same job that are made today. Now, in 2006, the reference had an upgraded movement, the caliber 3186. We now had the Parachrome hairspring, and together with the Paraflex shock absorbers, Rolex's movements were able to last longer and longer and longer. You've got a friend for life if you've got a Rolex. But to tell whether you've got a 3185 caliber or a 3186, all you have to do is operate the watch. Unscrew the twin lock crown. It's lovely. It's so nice. I'm just going to wind it for a minute. Anyway, first position out, and we can independently move the hour hand. And if you look at the GMT hand, it does a little wibbly wobbly wobble as I'm moving it around. This is how you know you have a 3185 in your watch, because the 3186 solved the wobbly hand issue. But the movement hacks and hand winds. It's an absolute joy to use. The only problem with a true traveler's GMT, you don't have a quick set date. So you have to move the hour hand 24 hours around the dial before you change the date each time. Now, if this watch is your only one you got, it's all right. Could be a pain if you've got 25 others though.
Hello.
On my 6.5-inch wrist, and blimey, makes me wish my credit card score was better. This watch is absolutely just spot on. Late 80s and 90s Rolexes, in my opinion, are just the best because you still had the classic sizes to the watches, but you had the modern upgrades like the sapphire glass, the 4 Hertz movement, the white gold indices, and the upgraded lume. I would be absolutely proud to wear this watch. It doesn't look showy. Explorers shouldn't really. A little footage from Adrian Barker's show he did a few months ago just shows you the size between the new one and the 16570. For me, there really is no contest. Now on the BQ website right now, this watch is going for £6,750. That's a phenomenal price for me because this is what I would call one of the best Rolexes I've had on my wrist. If you were to go and buy the 226570, the current Explorer 2, brand new, which you'll be lucky to get, is just under £8,500. Used, well, it's not a lot, but it's still going over retail. I personally think the modern day Explorer 2 is just too oversized. And that's not just coming from a little wrister. This is all thanks to Rolex and their maxi case and their maxi blooming dials. But for me, I'd love to go back to a simpler time where if you was to be seen wearing a Rolex, people would have thought, that's a nice watch. And not nowadays when they're thinking, what a show off. Who does he think he is? So here it is, my wife's opinion on the 16570 beautiful Explorer 2. It's alright. It's got a weird red sticky hand, doesn't it? It's alright, but I really hate that magnifying glass. What are you, 80? Oh, well, she's got a point when it comes to Cyclopses, you know. But if any watch brand is going to have them, they just look right on a Rolex. Thank you so much to BQ for sending this watch in. It will be shipping back to you pronto. Don't forget to get on their website and check out the amazing array of watches they have on offer. Breitling, IWC, Tag Heuer, Tudor, Patek, AP, Omega. They got it all. And you guys out there, you've been fantastic for watching till the end. Click there if you want a bit more of the Mad Watch Collector. But if I've got you for a few more minutes, this one will set your world on fire. It probably won't, but at least it'll keep you amused for at least 10 more minutes. Go on, keep the algorithm monkey swinging. Go on, click it. Click it.